Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Reality Roundup. I am Maddie. That is Mariama. Today we are talking about the Traitors episode 9.
Nine.
Um, and what an episode it was. How are you doing, friend?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing good.
It was a fantastic episode.
Absolutely
Fantastic.
fantastic.
Um,
This is what I wanted.
let's get started. Let's start. What's the big news, Maddie?
Well, I mean, Carolyn has been banished. And you know what? Even though I
It was glorious TV.
was glorious TV, and I put a quote from you right up top during the first turret, which is Carolyn has got to put that hurt away
Let
because
it go.
she really, that was, to me, that was her ultimate downfall, is being consistently hurt by this whole Danielle situation.
Now, let me pull my notes up.
Mhm.
Danielle. I want to say when I heard that Danielle Reyes was going to be on this season of the show, this is what I expected. I've never watched Big Brother. I've seen like clips. I've seen YouTube commentary about Big Brother from
Mhm.
Peridium or whatever. So I've seen like the competitions and stuff like that. So I kind of understand how the games work, but I don't really have a good like idea of the
Mhm.
games.
Mhm.
But Danielle is like kind of, especially amongst like old school, like older Big Brother fans,
Yeah,
she is kind of iconic, right? And the
I've
way they
heard.
talk about her, she's like the strategic mastermind. She's this wheeler and dealer, this manipulative like Black Widow character that like is like doing her thing. And this is what I expected. And she really has not lived up to that reputation in the through the first 8 episodes of this season. But she makes up for all 8 of those
He
episodes
works,
right here.
devours even.
she clears the plate,
Absolutely. No crumbs.
clears the plate, gets seconds,
Well,
clears that plate as well too.
there's one crumb left on the plate after they banish Carolyn when she falls to the ground. I was like, please no.
Honestly, I don't see nothing wrong with that. I don't see
Oh,
nothing wrong with that. There's a little bit of truth to it. There's a little bit of performance to it. Like she sets that she what is it called? She plants that seed with Dolores way early in the morning where she's just like, I've been scared to call out the traitors because they're so
you're right.
ruthless and but I'm not afraid anymore. I'm gonna just go for it. I don't care. I
I don't want to
can't
play a
play like
scared
this.
game
I
anymore.
can't play a
Yeah,
scared game. So she's terrified.
work.
That's the narrative she's spinning is that she's terrified of going up against Carolyn and losing, and then she wins. So she falls. It's an emotional thing for her. Her characterization to this point is that she is like overly emotional. So
True.
she has a huge personal victory and falls
Beautiful
down to her
TV.
knees in tears as a result. I don't see nothing wrong with it. Um, I mean, Danielle got Carolyn banished, y'all. If you can't tell from what we're
Work.
saying, Danielle sets a trap for Miss Carolyn. Carolyn takes the bait,
Hook, line, and sinker.
hook, line, and sinker.
Abs.
She's fighting the
Crazy
rest of the
pantomiming.
season.
She is, and she just gets yanked out of that water like a catfish around Mardi Gras.
And
Just absolutely pulled
yeah,
out.
we're gonna talk about it. This was perfect. Oh my God, the editing as well of this is too
Work,
that we
yes.
don't find out, that her and Carolyn had to set this up until we get to the challenge, and we're
Yes.
seeing the conversation that they're having about each piece and each answer, um, as the faithfuls, the players are playing the
Mhm.
game. So wonderful. And you know what? I didn't believe that Danielle was going to do this. I thought Danielle, if not, Brittany was getting banished this episode. And so I was like, oh, Danielle's going to do all of this stuff and just like this is a dodo edit. That was my thing. I was like, Danielle is being
Oh,
edited for her fall. Like she thinks that this is what's going to happen, but Carolyn, because the first thing we see Carolyn securing like numbers for Danielle's banishment.
yeah.
We see Dylan's like, yeah, I'm with you. She has Gabby. They need 2 more votes, and you have
Yeah.
to assume that they can get a Tom and an Ivar or even anybody except for Brittany. Like you have to kind of assume they can get almost anybody else. Um, and I'm like, wow, my sister Danielle is gone, and they're just showing us her her overplaying again, her
Yeah,
going
her
on.
downfall.
And then Carolyn started fighting to put Tom's name down on one of them questions. And I said, now, wait a minute now.
She just fell for it. She fell
Now,
into the bear
wait a
trap.
minute. I
Hmm.
want to talk about this. There's a lot of things I want to get to. We're going to get
Yes.
back to the top of the episode. This is the most like significant thing that happens in this episode. But
Yes.
the few things I want to talk about, we see Danielle give a confessional early in the season where she's like, I'm trying to be 20 steps ahead. I'm trying to be 10 steps ahead. I don't remember what she said.
Hmm.
And my biggest issue with her is that like steps 3 and 4 don't make sense for what you're expecting to happen on steps 13 and 15. Like
Yes.
13, 14, 15. Like you need to make it make sense. She nailed it today. She was 10 steps ahead of Carolyn, and Carolyn was playing one step at a time, and
Oh
she
my
got
God.
caught up in the most diabolical way. But
She really did. Oh my God.
we get into this turret. Now
Yes.
remember again, in this turret they have the opportunity to seduce.
Yes.
So they can send a player, they can murder or seduce. If they seduce and that person accepts, they join the turret, and we got 3 traitors in the game, no murder. If they murder, they don't seduce. If they seduce and that person doesn't take it, they still don't get a murder.
I thought it was. Oh wait, no, is that the at the end when Alan is like,
The
if you
ultimatum comes at
seduce?
the end.
Okay, thank you. Okay.
Yeah. So
Yes.
this is from last episode, the seduction, and they're going through about. Remember, Danielle wanted Brittany to join them in the turret, and
Hmm.
Carolyn wanted Gabby. They're not gonna give up on either of those to right, and then so they decide on murder. Carolyn's like, I'm absolutely not letting Brittany in this turret.
Yeah. Man, Brittany's in the turret anyway. Now you're gone.
Brittany's in the turret, boo. So
She in
they
fact
decide to
replaced
murder,
you.
and they decide to murder Sam. What do you think about this?
I mean, emotionally, I just wanted to see Ivar gone, but I did understand cutting Sam off at the knees before he got any more powerful. Not that he wasn't, I don't think he was looking at anybody though.
I think, and I said this last episode, I think the choices here were murder Dylan or recruit Dylan. And
We did
Dylan
say that last time.
and and
Damn.
and I'm always kind of reading this through Carolyn's best interest. When Danielle suggests to murder Dylan and Carolyn goes, "No, Dylan is loyal to both of us." I was like, yeah, that's why
Yes.
he needs to go. Like, if you want Danielle out, you need only the people that are loyal to you.
Oh, yes.
If you can't murder, she's not going to let you murder her bestie, Brittany. She's not going to let you murder Dolores. You need to be trying to get those two banished and then murder everybody else that's not definitively on your side or that you can get on your side. But like,
Yes.
I really do think that like Dylan was like in any case, I think they should have murdered a man, which they did, which is fine. I didn't hate the Sam move, but I
Dylan
just
would have been a better option.
I also think with Sam gone, Ivar was just kind of winging it and blowing everybody's game up. So like that's why I mean Sam was keeping Ivar occupied and corralled
Somebody needed to
at the
keep the
badminton
Mountbatten
court.
corralled.
So um with Sam gone, Ivar is free to talk to Danielle, and that honestly was another thing that did Carolyn in this
Yeah.
episode. But I didn't think the Sam murder was like really crazy. But at
Yeah.
breakfast or immediately post breakfast,
Hmm.
it really seems like Danielle's fall is coming.
Yeah.
Like people are coming to Carolyn. Gabby comes to Carolyn. Is like, this is the time to go for Danielle. Um, Dylan seems like he's on board, and she has those votes. And Danielle also kind of starts setting some bait for Carolyn and just
Hmm.
talking about, like the traitors they attack, which I thought was really weak. The traitors just attack. And Carolyn just attacked me out of nowhere at the table. And I was like, yeah, because everybody thought you was a traitor girl. Um, but we can we can get to the game. You ready to get to
Yes.
the game?
The lovely, lovely mission. Oh, wait, before we get to the game, I just have to say that Tom is being loud and wrong again, and all is right in the world.
Yes.
Just, oh,
We
so loud and so wrong.
I thought Tom was seeing the game as it was, but no.
into our mission, I kind of just thought of this as superlatives because it kind of just felt like we were just giving superlatives.
Hmm.
Except the crux of the game is that the traitors have given the superlative, or the crux of the mission, sorry, is that the traitors have decided these superlatives, but of course we don't know who the traitors are, so we still have to decide sort of kind of as a group who we think the superlative is. And then if we get one right, the weird moving chess piece, which I actually really did enjoy,
It was too
will
slow.
confirm.
I wrote the trader Roomba taking too much time in this episode.
It really definitely was a Roomba, but anyway, and then the Roomba would confirm if you were right or wrong, and then you would get money to the prize pot if you were right. I think it was $5,000.
Five grand. There were
Yeah,
four
yeah,
questions, 20 grand total up.
yeah. I loved it.
So first question, who's slithering under the radar? And the
Yeah,
traders choose Brittany,
yeah.
which not Brittany, but Brittany, because I almost said it. Um, Brittany,
Rita.
who Sierra just called the snake like last night. So,
Yeah,
it's a good one. Here we see both the traders speak up and it's like, remember the Sierra thing, but I don't think there's too many red flags. I think even at this point, the one thing we didn't mention is that breakfast, like immediately post breakfast, we see Dylan Efron is going, hey, like, I should have been dead tonight. I should have been dead long ago, but
yeah.
I certainly shouldn't be here today. The fact that I'm still here to me is like proof that again, Dylan should have died. Because I didn't want to like say that I like that because I think it's like just like real metagaming. But I figured like Dylan, I honestly think Gabby too, like are like smart enough to put it together. If I'm still here, I'm probably friends with a traitor. So who are my friends? Because one of
Oh,
them is
especially at
protecting
this
me.
point.
And
Yes.
and Dylan, especially because of how vocal he is, he's been a part of every major plan, every major like attempted blindside,
Yeah,
successful or not. And he's a huge threat to the traders. The fact that he's still here is
yeah.
proof that he is in with the traders. I think he should have been banished by the faithfuls, but maybe the faithfuls really do just believe he's a faithful. But if I was a faithful, I'd be like, bruh, like if you're still here, you're
Hmm.
either a traitor or you're friends with the traitors. And in any case,
Yeah.
I'm as a faithful, I'm trying to be friends with the traitors if they're protecting me. They can't protect me.
And also because of his he says, what does he say? He says something about like he's getting carried in the game. Like he realizes that he's getting carried in the game, which I think is the appropriate response also to what happened with Boston Rob. Like Boston Rob was carrying him a little bit in the game. And so I completely agree. I think I wrote Dylan has got his brain cells back together because yeah, he should have been
Boy was
murdered.
thinking today.
He was.
So at the game, Dylan is on the watch. He's on the hunt, and he's looking at his two closest allies,
Yeah.
Danielle and Carolyn, and he's suspicious of Danielle, and we already know that. So he's
Yeah.
trying to see if Danielle slips today. On this first question, he's a little sus of Danielle, but nothing too crazy.
Yeah.
Now, the next question, who is the biggest threat to the traitors? And the
We
traitors choose Brittany, and we get our first flashback from Danielle.
which I was confused about at first because I was like, oh, we're gonna pick somebody different each time. But
I think they should have been forced to choose a different name each time. I don't think there
okay,
should have
yeah.
been doubles.
Yeah.
But this is Danielle's first trap for Carolyn. She
Yes.
chooses her closest ally, who is publicly known to be her closest ally, and
Yes.
then Carolyn agrees because Carolyn is just trying to like I don't know what Carolyn is trying to do
I
here,
don't know what Carolyn's trying to do here either. I think
but
she thinks that she's ahead of Danielle. Does that make sense?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I think like, and I want to talk about this at the banishment, but I think like Carolyn makes a couple of big mistakes. As good as Danielle was, I don't think it was a foregone conclusion until the round table. I think Carolyn made some missteps in the round table,
Mm.
and she makes some missteps, like clear missteps in the game. This one wasn't as bad. Like this one
No.
mildly removes sus from Danielle, but like who cares? Like if you're a trader, you might do that anyway. Like people can metagame that away.
Yeah.
I think the next two questions are really what do Carolyn in.
Absolutely.
So the third question is who's the leader of the pack, and her and Danielle choose Tom. Now this is what it is. It is what it is. I don't know that the faithfuls would actually say that, but like cool. But like when they get to that
Yeah.
point though, Tom volunteers himself and the faithfuls volunteer Dylan.
Yeah.
And Carolyn is very vocal that
About Tom. Mm-mm-mm.
yes, yes. So the first the biggest threat one, Tom was really vocal about him, but they choose him and it's not him. And then this one, Tom is very vocal that they chose him. And the only other person agreeing with him is Carolyn. And the fact that Carolyn doesn't like recognize within like zero point 0.6 seconds that like, oh no, I don't need to be I cannot be correct here in the
Yes.
minority.
Yes, which is what Danielle says at the beginning of the whole mission, which
Yes.
is like, I need to make sure that I get some of these wrong
Yeah.
so that I don't stick out more. It's exact opposite strategy. Well, I don't know about strategy for
And
Carolyn,
this is why
but
I think Carolyn makes this mistake. Carolyn is feeling comfortable. She has no sus on her. She knows that. She
yeah.
knows it's going to be a hard sell for Danielle. To this point, it's going to be a hard sell for Danielle to sell her as a traitor. Danielle doesn't have anything on her, right? And she knows that people are already looking at Danielle and like they kind of don't have anywhere else to look with the
Mm-hmm.
Sierra out of the game or whatever. It's gonna be Danielle or her bestie tonight. And
Hmm.
Carolyn's like, I want to put some money in the pot. I'm a trader. I'm getting to the end. I need to build this pot up so I can get my coins. And she starts playing like Danielle. She starts thinking 20 steps ahead and not thinking about how step number 3 is going to fit in with
They
step
really
number
do trade
17.
places.
And so, and I also think this was like the perfect sort of challenge to set Carolyn up on for Danielle because we like if you know Carolyn's story, and I don't know how much of this Danielle knows, but like if you know Carolyn's story, we see it in this episode. Her thing is I'm the underdog that nobody listens to, and now she's in a position where she for sure has the correct answer. She knows the correct answer because she's a traitor,
Hmm.
and people aren't listening to her because it doesn't make sense with their perception of the game board. So she
Yes.
fights for this. They end up putting Tom. Her and Tom are the only people that think it's Tom. But this is consistent with Tom's personality. Tom thinks he's the
Yes.
biggest threat. He thinks he's the leader of the pack. Like he's arrogant enough to put himself up for all four of these things if he could. And like that's not consistent with Carolyn's thing. So the fact that it ends
Yep.
up being right and Dolores goes, "Wow, Carolyn, you were on that," and she like immediately is like, "No, I wasn't," and is super defensive. This was actually worse than being correct.
Yes. It
Like, because I think
absolutely was.
you could explain it away and be like, no, like the traders are probably going to set up Tom. Like, come on, y'all. If I was a trader, I'd be setting up Tom, Brittany, and Zac Efron's brother. Like, who else would it be?
Hmm.
Um, so this was like this one was like could be explained away, but one, her defensiveness with Dolores, which
Yes.
Dolores clocks, and then two, the next question, which is whose voice is the most irrelevant, and again, this was Carolyn's sort of like
Carolyn, Carolyn, Carolyn.
her being like so tied to her personal narrative of being the person that's never listened to, that's never taken seriously, da da da, da which we've seen it on Survivor, and we've seen it so far in the Traitors as well too. But what's really strange is nobody else sees Carolyn that way.
No, like they literally argue about it during the mission where they're like, girl, what are you talking about? Like, we listen to you all the time. Like, and she is in her attempt to stick with her own strategy, she's like, no, nobody listens to me. And everyone's like, we're listening to you right now.
I don't know how she got this so wrong because it's pretty obvious that if you're the traitor, the strategy is to vote with the faithfuls. The strategy is not to corral the faithful vote to the correct answers for the traitor. Either the strategy is pick the name that you actually think the faithfuls are going to pick, or pick the names that you want to like if you want to like throw suspicion off of yourself. I
Yes.
think if your goal was to earn money, if I was a trader, my goal was to earn money. Who's a snake? Brittany.
Yeah.
Who's a threat to the traders? Efron. Who's the leader of the pack? Efron, or like throw that, maybe put it on somebody else, maybe put it on Gabby or something like that, just to like throw them off
Yeah.
from one of you. Who's the most irrelevant voice? Ivar, who never speaks and nobody ever listens to,
I
or
was so
Tom,
confused.
who's been pitching Dolores since week 2 and y'all have been dismissing since week 2.
They keep firing and aiming at each or aiming and firing at each other, and it's so funny at this point.
Um, yeah, what did you think about Carolyn's performance here and Danielle's plan?
I mean,
Danielle's trap.
Danielle's trap was a very good trap, but my God, Carolyn doesn't even attempt to get
Yeah.
out of it. Like it
She doesn't see it
just
coming and it's crazy.
no, she doesn't see it coming, and I really think it goes back to your quote, like you gotta let that hurt go. I genuinely think that she's operating, I think we see this more so at the round table too, where she's genuinely operating out of a place of hurt instead of like being strategic, which sounds like low-key sexist of me. I'm so sorry.
No, it's true. Like
Um,
it's not sexist if it's true. Like
okay.
I
So funny.
mean
Um,
it's what we're seeing in the edit. Like
Yes, like she's just operating out of like a complete place of hurt. Even when she's arguing at the mission that the last answer is about her, she's like getting very emotional about it in a way that like doesn't match the moment. And I think that that is another thing where people are like, "Girl, what are you like? Why are you doing all of this all of a sudden?"
we see her put it together for the first time that maybe she set up when
Yeah.
they're in the car. And she's like, wait, like maybe I'm overthinking because I do overthink, but like did Danielle like set me up to like show my ass today? The thing is, it didn't have to be the
Yeah.
case. It doesn't matter what the answers are if you're the traitor. It seriously doesn't. You could have put all
No.
Ivars if you wanted. You
Yes.
just have to vote with the faithfuls. You cannot argue them down and be correct. Like
You can't stick out.
you got to argue them down in the wrong direction, but you can't argue them at all. Like you just shut up, wait for somebody to throw out a name and hop on the train. Like if once three people say a name, you hop on with them and just roll. Like it was
Yes.
super simple and I was so disappointed in Carolyn in this moment. I still thought she had a chance because and like one thing I'm realizing with these faithfuls in this castle, and I don't think we've talked about it yet, is that like they really will make a game time decision at the table. I feel like
Oh, yes.
that wasn't the case in previous seasons. I feel like people like got their votes together in the house and then went to the table and were like, this is what I'm voting for. And y'all can argue down as much as y'all want. We'll look at the rest of the arguments next week. But today you're going home like
I love that. No, that's not what they're doing this
that's not what
season.
they're doing this season. And I think Danielle maybe understood that a little bit better that like I can flip these people at the table because Danielle doesn't run around talking to everybody. She
No.
lays a little bit in with Dolores. She hints at Brittany like, "Hey, you gonna roll with me, right? If I go." And then, maybe she gets Ivar. And she doesn't
Yeah.
we don't see her run around the Tom to write anybody. Like the that name, Carolyn's name gets to Dylan and to like Tom and to Gabby through the Ivars and the
Ugh,
Doloreses.
I love a good whip count.
And
Oof.
then she like I mean, but she doesn't really have the numbers. She just kind of she has like the plants. Like she plants with Ivar. They're like, hey,
Mhm.
are you familiar with Columbo? That's who Carolyn is. I'm not familiar with Columbo, but Danielle said that's who Carolyn is, and Ivar gets it. He's like, oh yeah, that makes
Yes.
sense.
I
And
immediately knew what she meant, and I was like, oh my God, that's almost rude.
I mean, she calls her Forrest Gump later on. I thought that was
That
particularly
was
rude.
really rude. Yeah.
And then Danielle, yeah, like, and we see Carolyn now trying to like confirm her numbers, but they're kind of gone.
Yeah.
Like Dylan is kind of lost. Dylan is kind of like, wait, hold on, you showed your ass today. Like, I don't think you're faithful no more.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I also think that like Danielle comes to defend her point in what is a really compelling way that Carolyn doesn't. Like Carolyn sits down and cries with Dylan and is like, "You know me, people don't listen to me. Like it's my insecurity." And he's like, "Yeah, like I get that, but like if you're a traitor, like I really don't care."
Yeah, she hits Dylan at the round table with like some heavy tears
I'm talking
and
pre round table in the bar
and
when
pre-round
she
table too.
shoos Dolores and Danielle out of there.
It was just a lot. I was like, girl, why are you like this?
I think
Okay.
it's real. Like I think the emotion was real. I think she's also feeling the stress of the game. She's feeling the heat of like actually being looked at. Like this is the first time where like her name is out and it could really be her.
Yeah.
Because there's so few people. That's also why like her choice to like stand out and make a big deal of the last two answers when there are so few people and you will be so visible is like
Yeah.
kind of strange to me. Um so we see Ivar and Tom talk about Carolyn possibly being a traitor.
No,
What does Lord Ivar tell us? He goes
Oh,
he goes, "Do you think she can pull that off?"
Oh my gosh, yes. And I was like, ooh, I don't really like, but I mean, that is Carolyn's like superpower is that people don't think that she is capable
I
of
don't think
these
there's anything
things.
wrong with what he said. He goes, I don't think she can pull it off. And he goes, if she does, she deserves an Oscar. If she is fooling all of us, she deserves an Oscar, which I
And
thought was a
she,
compliment.
yes, she does. But sometimes I just look at Ivar and I'm like, why are you still here? But it's fine at this point.
Tom is still pushing Dolores. Um, and we at this point we get to the round table, and
Um,
here comes Ivar, and I said, "Oh no, oh no, not this guy." He goes, "Let's just be clear. The last two traitors are women." Everybody's like, "Shut up! Like, shut up! You don't know that." Ivar's just like, "Please don't vote me out. Please, you're not going anywhere, babe. You're getting murdered. Like, you're not getting
you're
voted out."
first of all, you're getting murdered, and second of all, can you please stop referring to these grown women as girls?
Oh no, I mean he says women. I think like, but I
He
just
says
said
girls.
okay, there's nothing wrong.
He's,
I don't think he meant anything by it.
I was just like, Ivar, please.
Um,
Dolores and Tom. Oh my God.
yeah. So I want to talk. Tell me what you think about this roundtable before I talk, because I have a lot to say. I think.
Oh, well, first of all, I think it's beautiful. I think at this point in time, the cake is mostly baked for Carolyn, actually. And I think that Danielle brings it home by bringing up her points again, even the Columbo Forrest Gump thing. I think it gets a stitch, like, oh my God, what am I saying? It gets a touch hairy where Carolyn and Danielle are like arguing at each other and kind of like a more so personal way than maybe just like gameplay way. I was like, oh, I don't think this is going well. But then Danielle, I mean, she just pulls it out of the bag. And then, well, actually I have a question for you.
Hmm.
Do you think if we had gone to sudden death it would have been the same? Because Dolores and Tom vote for each other.
Yeah, I don't know what would have happened on a revote here. Like, I don't know if they would have maybe just had everybody revote and see if any of the votes changed,
Hmm.
and probably have everybody revote and go, you can only vote for Carolyn or Danielle at this point, and see if where Tom and Dolores went. I think that's probably
Yeah,
what
that does
happens.
work.
Or
Yeah.
I don't know. Are you saying that Tom and Dolores are the only people that vote on the revote?
No, I'm not. I'm saying exactly what you just said before that, which is that they can only pick between Carolyn and Danielle. And if it still goes Carolyn's
Tom.
way or Danielle's way on a revote in that situation.
Oh, what do I think, Tom? Oh, I don't know. I don't know.
Well, anybody would
I
be able to
think Dolores
change.
probably votes with Danielle. I don't know who Tom votes for.
I don't know. And do you think everybody else keeps their votes though?
I would assume so.
I wonder if the guilt would eat Dylan up enough where he would change his mind at the end.
That's a good thought. Like maybe that might be a thing. Who did Gabby vote for? Gabby voted for Danielle because Carolyn
Yes.
her is her ace. Um, listen, I don't know, man. Danielle was just great this episode. Now, Carolyn starts this thing off, and I don't know if you're done talking about the round table. I have like some
Yes.
sort of. So Carolyn starts this off, and Danielle, I just have one question for you. I wanted to do Carolyn's voice, but I can only do it on Bob the Drag Queen. She says Bob the Drag Queen.
Love the
um,
drag queen, we miss you.
um, Carolyn Carolyn starts it off and she goes, Danielle, I just have one question for you. Why would you need to lie? What reason would a faithful ever have to lie? And I thought, okay, this is compelling. This is a narrative that's going
Hmm.
around the castle. Danielle lied. Carolyn never said Brittany's name. When Danielle goes, that's not a lie. It's the truth. I was like, girl, you're cooked. There is something to arguing with someone when like you can just flat out refute, like simply refute
Yes.
what they're
Yes.
saying that convinces people way more than even what they might have seen. Like
Exactly.
like I think Danielle just cooked up with that. And then she goes in, she goes she goes through her trap. She's like, you're a traitor because you knew the answers today. Like cooks her up. And like when I see Carolyn just continuously harping on the I never said Brittany's name, I never said Brittany's name. I'm like,
You're missing the point, babes.
I think Carolyn could have I don't know how much Danielle knows about Carolyn. How much of her? I don't think Danielle knows a lot about Carolyn actually because of the way she treated her for most of the early season.
Yeah.
Because I think like if you watch Carolyn's Survivor show, there's no way that you think she's like wouldn't be good as a trader. There's no way that you think she wouldn't be like formidable as a strategist on a show like this. So I do think that Danielle probably doesn't know much about Carolyn, and the fact that Danielle is pulling this off probably just off of the little bit that she's learned about Carolyn in 9 days or so is actually quite impressive because
Yes.
one of like Carolyn is not, and this was on Survivor too, she's not good in these moments. She's not good at presenting to a group and arguing in this. Like she was really
Yeah.
bad in her final tribal council on Survivor. She is really, really good in the one-on-one, like strategic conversations, connecting to people like we saw her do with Gabby and with Dylan
Yeah.
this whole season, like we saw her do with like a Dolores and some of the other people here. And she's really good in those one-on-one settings, like socially connecting with people, and then like through those social connections, building like a strategic alliance like that can protect
Yeah.
her. That's how she got to the end on Survivor.
Oop.
This is just not her strong suit, this arguing, this presenting information to the group and making a case. But I'm
Yeah.
sitting here looking and I'm like, Carolyn, why why aren't you talking about the riddle, the portraits? Danielle, you saw 16 riddles
Oh,
and never
yes.
put your thing down once. And you're saying that you were scared of me murdering you? Like Danielle's like, I haven't said anything because I know you're a traitor and I'm scared. I think Danielle wins on two things. She's able to flat out def, like refute Carolyn
Mm-hmm.
saying that you you said I said Brittany's name and that was a lie. And she's like, no, that was the truth. You did say Brittany's name. So now are you going to tell me
Ugh.
that no, you didn't say it for banishment, you said it for the turret in front of all the faithfuls, or are you just going to shut the fuck up
Ugh.
now? And
It's my favorite thing.
Carolyn just has to kind of go, no, you're lying, and it's not effective. And then she
No.
goes, the other thing that she says was what I wrote it down. She goes, oh man, what's the other thing oh man,
She should have asked Danielle when did I say it?
yeah. Oh, when Carolyn is like, you've been throwing my name out, you've been like, and
Oh,
Danielle goes to everybody, have I mentioned Carolyn's name in the last four
yes.
days? And everybody's like, no, 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 because I'm scared.
Oh my
Because
God.
I've
It
been too
worked.
scared to say anything. And this is why I was like, Carolyn's sort of like distrust of Danielle cooks
Yeah.
her in this moment,
Yes.
right? Because Danielle has flat out told her multiple times, "I'm not throwing your name out. Everything you're hearing about me saying your name is from the time that I said it that one time,
Yes. Yes.
and then
Yes.
you confronted me, and I have not mentioned it again." And Carolyn's
Yep.
like, "No, I don't believe you." She is so distrustful of Danielle that like she is unraveling her own arguments against Danielle
Exactly.
because she cannot see beyond like the interpersonal sort of conflict that they've created now.
Yes.
And I wrote down everything that Carolyn could have brought to the round table. Hey, what about the riddles with the portraits? How come you ain't put your portrait up? If you're saying that you were scared of me murdering you this time, you had an opportunity to earn a shield. Jeremy. So again, Danielle thing with, hey, Jeremy said your name, Danielle, and then he ends up in a coffin dead. Danielle's thing was with Sierra was like, no, I didn't know Jeremy said my name until after the coffin happened. That is a lie. Carolyn
Yes.
knows that's a lie because not only because they conspired together as traitors, but also
Yes.
because Carolyn, Bob the drag queen, and Danielle had a conversation at the bar, not like during the time that everybody was mingling and people were walking in and out, where her and Bob the drag queen confirmed to Danielle that Jeremy has said her name on like day one or day two. So
Yes.
like Carolyn could have been like, you told Sierra that you didn't know that Jeremy was saying your name until after he was murdered, but that's not true. You and I both know that you knew before because you asked me before he was murdered whether he was saying your name. And then he was
Mm.
murdered that same night. Like he was literally murdered later on that night. Like she could have used that. She could have also just talked about the overacting. Like I think you're overacting. Why were you so
Yes.
emotional when Derek got sent home? It's because you know you had to go in there and murder him, which is true. You murdered your
Yes.
friend and you was shaken up about it. That's actually true. Like she could have put truth on her side as well too, and used true that Danielle couldn't refute without having to confess that she was
Yes.
a traitor in some way to like build a case as well. And
I mean,
she just didn't have it in her.
that's what Carolyn says in her confessional during or after the round table, maybe after the round table, which is that like she's not good. I don't think she uses the word confrontation, but she's like not good in these moments with like comebacks and things like that. And I really do think that's what eats her.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly think her biggest mistake was thinking that the vote was sewed up before Danielle was banished. Because
Yeah.
if she plays the day differently, she has no sus on her. Danielle is now trying to make a case to everybody in the house that I'm so quiet because I'm afraid of big bad Carolyn. Like nobody's buying that. That's a weak case.
It
But
is.
like Efron even says it, he doesn't start looking at her until the challenge. Like Dolores, Brittany, Ivor, all those people are like she doesn't become suspicious until the challenge. And then when you pair that with Danielle's ability to argue in front of these people in a way that Carolyn really can't refute, and she kind of plays like an emotional, hey, like people never think I'm capable, people never see me as this, that, or the third. And Danielle lied, and people were just like, this is not compelling. And
Yeah.
also, I think like kudos to Danielle to know that she could convince these faithfuls with logic because she just does what
Yeah.
Boston Rob did to Bob the drag queen
Yeah.
and what Derek tried to do, etc. Um, now, very interesting. Oh well, Carolyn gets up there, and what happens, Miss Maddie?
Well, I mean, she gives her little speech, and she's still crying this whole time. She says something.
I just wanted. Oh, she goes. Um, I didn't connect with a lot of you because I am very emotional, so I didn't want to like connect with a lot of you. I just really wanted to have fun, but I have to get real with myself. Being a traitor isn't fun. Going on a cruise is fun.
Yeah. And honestly, she walks out of there and everyone screams and hoots and hollers, and Danielle falls down, which does bother me, but I do understand your argument about why it's fine.
I think actually the most damning thing for Danielle was all the faithfuls afterward being like, "Hey, this gave shades of Bob the drag queen versus Boston Rob."
Yeah, I wrote
It
Gabby clocked it.
it seemed like a little bit more than you're a traitor, I'm a faithful, and I'm just traitor hunts. And it really seemed like two. It seemed like faithful. I mean, traitor on traitor crime,
Yes.
which is
Yeah.
basically what's happened every single time a traitor has been voted out this season. It's been traitor on traitor crime.
It really has been Trader on Trader climb. Gabs completely clocked it. She in her little voice, she was like, "It just seems like it might be Trader on
Also,
Trader crime."
apparently, the Boston Rob vote out. Rob was doing well at that round table. According to him, he had some people convinced. And then Carolyn actually spoke up, and her arguments was what finally did him in of just being like, "Hey, Rob," like basically just reiterating everything. But he so it really has been traitor on traitor crime every single time.
Literally cannibalizing each other. Wild.
This is crazy. This is insane.
I love this episode.
Do you have any other thoughts before we get to going to bed into the turrets?
Um, no, I was just really satisfied to see Carolyn gone. Not because I don't like her, but just because
It was a great episode. It's one of the best
yeah,
episodes of the season. It was Danielle's best episode.
absolutely 100%, no question.
I think she's on her way out the door, but we're gonna talk about that when we predict because I do think she stepped out in a big way.
Yeah.
Um, here where it's gonna be hard for her to hide tomorrow. Like, and
Well,
the
yeah.
other thing with these people, these traders consistently going against each other and also going against all of the gamers is that now like four out of the six remaining like faithfuls are like really really faithful. Like
Yeah, that's
Dolores
fair.
ain't getting banished. Ivar's not getting banished. Tom's not getting banished. Dylan's not getting banished. And I don't even really think there's a world where Gabby gets banished now
I
that
don't
she's
think
linked up with
so.
Dylan, right?
Oh
Um,
yes, when he apologized, yeah.
and honestly, they're like a dynamic duo now. Like they, if 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 they can both stay alive, they're probably winning the money. Those two, Like
If
that
they
is
give
if
him
Brittany
like the
doesn't
one
win.
chance.
I think the win conditions are now most in favor for Brittany
Mm-hmm.
and Danielle and Danielle. What's his name? Daniel.
Dylan.
Dan- Child.
Daniel Efron. Dylan, yes.
Dylan and Gabby.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the win conditions are most in their favor unless they're murdered. Dylan needs to get murdered. I've been saying it for 4 episodes, not because he's not entertaining, not because he's not fun, not because I don't enjoy him on the show. He's a risk.
Yes.
He's a huge threat to the traitors. If you're in that turret, Dylan has to go. Once everybody starts going, every time somebody puts a plan together, they go talk to Dylan. He gotta go.
Yeah.
He gotta go.
The rest of them hopefully will be running around like chickens with their head cut off. Cut.
I said it for I've said it for 2 or 3 episodes now. Like I said it when it was the boys. I was like, the only thing that's gonna tie the boys' votes together is Dylan. Like
Yeah.
he needs to get murdered or recruited, and they don't take either. So he needs to. She should have recruited him today, honestly. But
Yeah.
that
Well,
brings us to the next talking point.
yes, it does.
Danielle gets to give the ultimatum. She's gonna choose one faithful to join her in the turret
Mm-hmm.
and murder tonight together. If
Mm-hmm.
they refuse, they will in turn be murdered.
Yes.
Of course, they're going to take the ultimatum. And she chooses Brittany.
Yes.
Correct choice? Would you have made a different choice?
Not with Dylan still there. With Dylan still there, I'm recruiting him because if he says no, then we can murder him, right? Like, and then I
Yeah,
just try again. With Dylan still there, it should have been Dylan.
yeah.
It 100% should
I
have been
also
Dylan.
think two things are going to happen. Danielle has just kind of gifted her win to Brittany because that's what happens in these scenarios. Like Danielle has sus. Like she's not escaping. Now
But
the
that's us.
issue is that Brittany also has a significant amount of sus as well
Yes.
from the last few roundtables pre the Carolyn roundtable. Um, so honestly, I really don't think they both make it to the end and stand. Like I think they either way. Like if they're both at the end or one of them is at the end as the sole traitor, they're probably getting banished at the fire.
Ooh.
Um, but if Brittany, if Brittany can, if Dylan gets murdered and Gabby gets banished, I don't think Dolores and Tom can get rid of Brittany. Like
I don't think so.
Dolores, Tom, and Ivar are there. Maybe Danielle gets banished as well too, and Brittany is there with Dolores, Tom, Ivar in the combination. Which I also think there's only one more murder and banishment left as normal, and then we get to the final
I
fire.
think so. I think Alan said something about that last episode
Yeah,
that
so I
we
think this
are.
might be the last murder that we will get from the traders. Um, so yeah, I don't know how they can murder anyone other than Dylan here. Like no one else. If they murder Gabby, it wouldn't be bad, but I'd be pissed. Dylan is the biggest threat. He has to
Dylan
go.
needs to go. I don't see how this is any more obvious that, or I don't see how this could. It's super obvious that Dylan needs to go.
Facts.
Yes.
Um, any other thoughts here on this episode?
No, I just loved it very much.
We see a preview for the seer power.
I don't want to know anything else until we're getting there. It's giving from the challenge, the thing that you hated.
Oh no, I can tell you exactly what this is. So
Oh,
this is it's a power that the people they will compete for and they'll win it in the competition
mm-hmm.
and then they'll go to banishment and then after the banishment the seer will be revealed if I'm not mistaken and then that person gets to have a one-on-one with any member, any person in the castle and they can ask that person whether they're faithful or a traitor and that person has to be honest.
But they can't tell anyone else.
No, they can't.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. The question is, are they telling the truth? Are they a traitor putting sus on a faithful?
Oh,
Yeah. So um
okay.
so like let's say if like Dylan has it, Dylan can pull in like I don't know why he would do this, like Ivar
Yeah.
and go, are you a faithful or a traitor? And Ivar has to be honest and go, I'm a faithful. And then he can go, hey y'all, Ivar's a faithful. Like we can't murder him. Like honestly what I would like to see is I'd like to see one of the traitors win it and then pull in a faithful to marinate and go, are you a faithful? And then go, oh my God, we're both faithfuls. Oh, great, good gracious. I confirm that. Like
Mm.
that's how I'd like to see it used. I would not like to see a faithful catch a traitor like this.
I agree. I feel like it would be kind of wah, wah.
I think the most fun would be to see a traitor get the power and then try to use it as a way to convince a faithful that they're a
Yes.
faithful, or maybe pull in the other traitor and then just be like, oh my god, they're faithful.
We're both faithful. So
Can you believe
crazy.
it? Can you believe it? Danielle's
And the
totally
only
faithful.
other person to corroborate our story is each other. Honestly, vibes.
I think that would be the most. And this would be a thing that would be very funny with like Bob the drag queen. Like I would love
Yes.
to see that where somebody like one of the traders win that, and then it's like a trader Bob and another trader just being like, we're both faithful.
Especially with the way that Bob and Danielle were literally acting down on the raft at the beginning of the beginning of the season.
Yeah.
Oh, beautiful work from them. Bob, I miss you.
Any final thoughts, predictions? Who do we think is getting murdered? Because obviously Brittany
God, let it
takes
be
the
Dylan.
ultimatum. Because what else are you gonna do?
It has to be Dylan. Please, for the love of God. It's if it's not Dylan, it's gonna be like Ivar or Tom.
You know what? That wouldn't be bad. Only like it should be Dylan. Tom should be banished. Like at this point, send Ivar to the final fire and just hope that you like the traders can make it into the final because you get the money anyway. Like you're not gonna be able to
Yeah.
banish Ivar at the final fire, but like if you can convince him that you're faithful and then
Yeah.
he like leaves you in the game, then you get the money anyway.
That's fair. I really
You
hope
don't. I
it's
don't want to. You wouldn't want to waste a murder on him. You can't get him banished, and you don't want to waste a murder on him. You need to get rid
yeah.
of Dylan. We need
Yeah.
to try to see about banishing Tom or Gabby. I think those are the other big threats. And at this point, I think Danielle can actually. I think Danielle can win if she's at the final fire with Dolores, because I don't think Dolores probably banishes her.
I don't think so. I don't think so. Well, I would say I don't think so if she can still have her little hatred focus on Tom. I think if Tom goes and Dolores doesn't get to throw away her vote anymore, I think it's a little bit different.
No, no, no. Like at the final fire, they can dwindle down their numbers until they feel like right.
Oh,
Like I just think Dolores is not gonna like Dolores is gonna vote in lockstep with Danielle. So like she can still vote out Tom with Danielle,
oh,
right?
I
She
see
can
what you mean.
still
Okay.
right. But I think like there's a possibility where Danielle is sitting there at the final fire with Dolores and Ivar, and Alan goes, "Do you guys think there are any more traitors in here?" And her and Dolores go, "No, no, no, we're all faithful." And then Danielle wins the money like that.
Work. I love this. This is wonderful. Also, it's 12 episodes this season. So we got a
I believe
10.
episode 12 is a reunion. So I think we're going to see our last murder and banishment, episode 10. Episode 11 is going to be um, the fire, and then 12 is Ryuyu. Yeah, because 12 and 11 are both airing on the same day, on March 6th.
Yes. Okay, yeah.
So that's going to be our final fire and our reunion.
Work. Okay. Well, everyone, that was another episode of the Reality Roundup, Traders Edition. Please
Mm-hmm.
remember to check the description box below for more episodes from this season and also to like, comment, and subscribe to help our wonderful podcast. Anything else for you, my friend?
I'm good.
All right.
Bye.